Hey guys, welcome to today's video. It's sponsored by FTD Flowers. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel with OMAR. So this is part 2 today of our mental health series that we're doing. I'm gonna look professional too. So this is a part 2, a Valentine's Day edition, where we're gonna be talking about relationships, self-love, how to get past relationships, all the goods, all the classics. Yeah. So first off, we want to say that Omar has been vaccinated and that I followed CDC guidelines and quarantined and took 2 tests on both sides of that quarantine. So we are together feeling safe. Safe. Nice and safe. Okay. And secondly, we'd also like to say that Omar is a professional. I'm not. So take what I say with a grain of salt and take what Omar says with a grain of salt. For sure. The questions that y'all sent in were so good, and we could never ever do them justice by giving the questions the time and the space that they deserve. So think of this video as like a nice little jumping off point to have more nuanced and in-depth conversations, because again, we're going to be touching on some big topics that we just couldn't possibly discuss at length in the video. So this is more nuggets of information. Take what's useful, leave the rest. Okay, so let's dive right in. So let's talk about today, oh gosh, our first question is, why am I obsessed with sex? So just right off the bat, we're gonna give it to him. I thought you were gonna give me a softball startup. No. Let's dive right in. Balls deep. So there are definitely ways in which your relationship to sex can feel fraught or problematic for whatever reason, and those reasons you'd want to explore and unpack. And I've also noticed folks have a relationship that felt totally manageable, a relationship to sex that felt totally manageable, that didn't have anything to do with quantity of sex. There are folks that have sex every day, and it feels manageable and good. Yeah, and all with that a partner, stuff. Or even with, I would never want to shame anyone about any sort of sex that they were having. Mm-hmm. I would just want to say it should feel really good, and what you're engaging in should feel uplifting and powerful, and you should feel great. And safe. Yeah, and safe. Especially, right? And mutually agreed upon, right? Right. For sure. Say if you are feeling your sex life is unmanageable and you're having issues with fantasy or constant masturbation or engaging in sexual practices that you don't feel good, you can't stop yourself from, or whatever, there are 12-step sex meetings that I have personally been to that I find so helpful to be around people where you can just share openly and honestly, which is great. Can I love someone else if I'm still working on loving myself, RuPaul? I love that question. Yeah, it's such a good question. And I'm gonna say no. Can I love someone else? I want to say yes. I want to believe that yes, it's okay to do these 2 things and have them coexist. I think of it as a cup, right? So you fill up your cup, and when you feel full, then everything that's overflowing from that cup can go to someone else, whether it be friends, family, a romantic relationship. But I like to try and be able to keep my cup full. And when my cup is not full, yet I'm in a relationship or dating someone, I have to let them know, hey, I need some time, I need a little bit of space, I need this weekend to myself, I need to kind of make sure that I'm full, in a way. For sure. And not with a load. I want to be full on. Sorry. That threw me. I was what do I do now? How do I follow that act? My short answer is yes. Absolutely. Actually, I'm a firm believer in the fact, or rather in the idea, that as your love for yourself, or as you're working on love for yourself, as that process is taking place, you can absolutely love someone else. I also like to think of love as not this linear thing that has a straight path from one end to the other. It's kind of like a continuum, you know what I mean? It's like family. So you love your family, whether it's chosen or biological, and that doesn't mean that you don't have days when you want to scream at them or pull your hair out. There's gonna be tension there. And so that self-love that you might be trying to cultivate
can be similar to that, where there are some days where you're like, oh yeah, I am feeling myself, I feel great, I feel confident, I feel strong, and other days where you're just like, you look in the mirror and you're like, this again? So love can mean a lot of different things, but you can absolutely love someone else if you don't feel like that's been solidified in yourself yet.
Yeah. Our next question is, how do I learn to love myself unconditionally? Which I know you have a few thoughts on this.
I would challenge that question by saying unconditional love isn't necessarily the target I would aim for. I actually don't love.
I mean, my dad's love is conditional, because as soon as I came out, he wasn't really that in love.
So love doesn't have to be unconditional. I think love should be conditional. So for example, I love Kyle as my friend. If he, let's say, ran me over with his car,
which is quite possible.
Which might happen, then yeah, my love is gonna be impacted by that. That's appropriate. So conditional love is appropriate, it's okay. But I think the question has to do more with like, how do you love yourself? And again, it's a process, right? Like some days you get up and you're feeling it, other days it's a struggle, and that is totally okay. Sometimes all I aim for is just like, can I like myself? Can I stand myself? Sometimes that is just enough, where I'm just like, okay, this will do. You know what I mean? And that's fine. And then there are other days where it feels like so accessible, loving myself or liking myself or just like, you know, being kind to myself.
Okay guys, we're gonna take a quick little commercial break to hear from our sponsor. So I worked with FTD Flowers for today's video. This beautiful bouquet here was from a local florist. So FTD Flowers has a ton of beautiful bouquets of flowers that they offer, and then a local florist can deliver them to your door. And over my shoulder over here, there's another option for drop ship packaging. So that means that you order these roses that I got, or any of the bouquets that are available on their website, and they can get shipped to your door in a box and packaging, open up and set up yourself like I did right over there. One easy way for me to say more to people that I love or care about, or sometimes even to myself, I like to send flowers, and I also like to get flowers. So FTD is a perfect way for me to be able to say more when a special day is coming up, whether it be Valentine's Day or a birthday or a celebration, or just because. So today, since we're talking about love and affection and loving ourselves or loving someone else or relationships, challenges that come up in relationships, I always thought, you know, that flowers was a really nice way to take care of yourself or someone else and just give them that little extra love in their day. A friend, a loved one, whoever him, her, or them are, you can go ahead and make sure that they would have a much better week with some flowers. I'm gonna go ahead and show you here on the website, ftd.com. Also has other gifts, whether it be chocolate, strawberries, I mean, they got like all kinds of things, stuffed animals, balloons, whatever. And they have tons of different gifts available that aren't just flowers. So then make sure you go to the description box after this video and you can get 20% off of your next bouquet of flowers. There'll be a coupon there once you hit the link. So let's get back to this video with Omar. So we touched a little bit on self-love. Let's talk about love with another person, or like relationships. What's a way to be a part of a healthy relationships after a history of being in toxic relationships?
I would imagine that this person has like a history of like relationships that didn't pan out so well, and it can be scary to take the risk again, or that like leap of faith again. And
especially if you feel like your picker is off.
Yeah, so if you feel like you find yourself drawn to a particular kind of situation or dynamic or whatever, it's like scary, right? But, you know, I want to encourage you to have a little bit more faith in yourself and to trust yourself a little bit more and to use your support system. So, you know, I will ask friends, like, what are your thoughts on like what you're seeing between me and someone else? And these are people that I trust. It's not just like anybody, right? It's not like, you know, someone I bumped into at the bar. And I'm like, so what do you think? Although, pre-COVID, bumped into a bar. These are like trusted friends that have known me for a really long time and that have sort of like seen me, you know, at my happiest and at my lowest. So I kind of like outsource, you know, support, or rather I outsource information and like feedback that I find really helpful. And then of course, therapy would be really helpful, or has been helpful for me to sort of like figure that out.
And I also want to say that sometimes I feel like when I start to date the same and I'm attracted to the same type of person, it's maybe a little bit about some work that I need to do.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Like, what about me is attracting me to this person, this type of person, which makes me like feel like it's toxic after a while.
Sure. Right? Like if you're in the relationship after a string of not great ones and some familiar feelings are coming up where you're like, oh yeah, this is feeling bad, kind of like last time in the last relationship I was in. I think that's like a really great sort of like alert system that means like, okay, start asking some questions, start doing some work, start like unpacking what's going on for you.
So speaking of more relationships, why do I lose my libido after 3 years of a relationship and what to do about it? I mean, this is so good. As speaking from someone who has a very low libido in a relationship or single, like I know that this is very frustrating, and it's even one of the reasons why I started using drugs when I was in my early 20s. It's because I felt like everyone was having more sex than me, and I needed to sort of supplement my lack of horniness or libido with like something that made me that way. Anyway, I don't suggest doing that, but just started being honest with people and being like, when I started dating someone, I was like, look, I'm perfectly happy with like sex once a week, once every 3 days, whatever. Like, I'm open to it changing, but I'm not that sexually driven. And so I sort of set up the expectation at the beginning that like,
this is where you're at. This is where I'm at.
And it doesn't have to be permanent, but right now, like, this is where I am.
Sex is an entire universe, right? It's not just penetrative sex. When we're talking about like sex and sexual desire and eroticism, it's also like sexting and flirting, and all of that is included. So one of the things that I would start out by saying is that experiencing cycles in and out of sexual desire, totally normal, totally healthy. It happens. Most of the time, folks bounce back, or they sort of experience like a revival of sexual desires. Sometimes with very little effort, sometimes with much more effort, right? Like actual concrete strategies like, okay, how do we stoke the flames of desire? How do we build intimacy, whether it's through physical touch or just like a really intimate conversation?
Yeah. Our next question is, why am I so gorgeous and so single? And let me tell you how many times I've asked myself this same question. Why are you so gorgeous and yet so single? And so smart.
I mean, I really like being single. I will say that. Like, I am having such a nice time being single. It's a part of my life that I really like to cultivate, and that allows me to cultivate like these other really important things to me, and relationships are just kind of like, it'll happen. That's my approach. That's my stance on it for me. But yeah.
No, that's great. How do I move past my previous relationship, and how do I know when I'm ready to start dating again? So as the non-clinical answer to this, I usually say, which is a made-up number, which is not even real, but I usually think like, however long, you can tell me if this is accurate.
Okay.
However long I've been in the relationship for, it takes half that amount of time to get over it.
That's like a famous, it was on Sex and the City, I think.
See, I'm old, so. But I feel like it's kind of true. Like, I don't know.
So the answer to that is that there is no answer. Yeah. And that
don't listen to me.
And that ultimately, entering into any relationship, there is inherent risk involved. There's just no guarantee. So I would ask you to look back historically on what's felt good and what's felt okay to you, right? Because some folks, they get out of a relationship and they're able to enter a new one relatively quickly, and others like need time to heal and recover.
But I mean, are those people that enter into one really quickly, are we sort of judging them and saying like, are you
There's
just
like suspicion.
taking your baggage to the next one?
There is suspicion. What I will make a case for, however, is that a lot of those folks have already emotionally detached before they officially broke up. So sometimes that's why it seems like, wow, you like jumped into a relationship really quickly. Really, it's like, no, they broke up with the person mentally and emotionally a long time ago. So they feel more prepared, or like they feel like, nope, I have the bandwidth for this right now, so that feels okay.
The next question is, I would love to talk about the value of monogamy and the need for gay men to deal with childhood trauma.
Yeah, lighthearted.
Yeah.
Light topics.
So we both agree that this is like childhood trauma is like a whole video series that we can't touch on today.
Right.
However, we can like give you nuggets, I guess, or Omar can. But when it comes to monogamy, is like I feel like when I was in my 20s, I was very judgmental about people that were in open relationships and very strict about it. And I would say that they were cheating on their partners and all this stuff. I had all of these rules. And then as I got older, those rules started to fall away. I started to mind my own business and realized that like whatever people want to do to be happy in their relationships is totally up to them. Yeah, if you would have told me 5 years ago what I'm doing today, I would be super happy in doing, I would have never believed you. Partly because my job didn't even really exist. Although I don't think that I would be happy in an open relationship, if you were to go ahead and tell me 5 years you're gonna be in one, I'm from the future, and you're gonna be happy, then who am I to say like, no, that's not true? Well, things change. And mine's open. And I also like to love my partner in a way that they feel free. That I don't really wanna restrict them to doing just things that I want them to do. So I feel like it sort of works against the idea of an open relationship, because when you love someone in a way that they feel free, I find that they don't really want to go anywhere else, that they feel free and loved here, and that they don't necessarily need another outlet. Not to say that that would be bad. So back on the topic of self-love, do you feel like, do you have any sort of like quick, like, I don't know, things that people can do to work on self-love about being gay?
Yeah,
or LGBTQ?
I want to make a strong push for some form of inner compassion and inner kindness and inner understanding. It makes sense why this person or anybody might be struggling with some aspect of their identity, especially if what they're getting from the outside world is you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. Of course, that's going to be difficult to manage and to struggle.
All of society, not all of, but most of society, we live in like a Christian Judeo society that's telling you that you're not good enough.
Right, and I'm here to say that you are good enough, and that you are good enough, and that you're worthy of love and belonging and all that good stuff. And I would recommend that with the help of someone else, that you start to shift the conversation in your head, even just like incrementally. So maybe taking it from like, I hate myself, to like, you know what, today I'm okay with myself. It doesn't have to be this sort of like idealized, perfect, you know, I love myself and I love every inch of myself. It doesn't have to look like that. So I want you to think about like versions of that feel like are attainable and accessible to you.
Okay, well, Omar, thank you.
It's been so lovely.
Okay, so I just want to let you guys know that we did a part 1 to this video, where we talked about certain current traumas with our current existence with the pandemic and with administration and election years and all of that. And we also talked about anxiety and depression more acutely than we did in this video, where we talked about relationships and self-love and just answering the Q&A questions about that. So go check out that part 1. I'll put it in the link in the description box down below. Yeah, and thank you guys so much. Omar, if they want to find you, where can they find you?
They could just Google Omar Torres Therapy if anyone is interested in, you know,
be down below,
asking me questions, or if anyone is interested in, you know, starting like the therapeutic process with me. That is where you can find me.
Great. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Obviously more YouTube videos at Kyle Krieger. Yeah, so I guess that's it. I hope you guys have a great Valentine's Day and love yourself and love somebody else if you want.
If you want, yeah. Or love a piece of pizza if you want.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Mozzarella sticks?
Mozzarella, yeah.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Guys, thanks again for watching today's video, and thank you FTD Flowers for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you check out my description box after this video, and you can get 20% off of your next bouquet at ftd.com. Okay? Have a great day. Bye, guys.